dive in. So today we're here talking about the text scope and sequence, specifically focusing in on some of the lessons for kindergarten. And this is something that's been several years in the making. So we're really excited about this launch, and I can't wait to dive into it with you. So my name is Nicole Carter. I'm a part of the digital curriculum team, and I also help support language arts or literacy for secondary, actually. So I have been working with my colleague Carrie on the standards that we are using for these lessons for a couple of years now. I would say probably 3 or 4 years. And it's only now come to fruition to have lesson supports and be able to roll it out on a larger scale for everybody. So as we dive in, per usual, Equity Lens is still a part of everything that we do, not only in having this conversation with you guys, but then also about the lesson designs. As you look at some of the lessons for the beginning of the school year, launching iPads, launching your Seesaw basics, that sort of thing, we've tried to incorporate both SEL lessons as well as some of the identity work from Dr. Goldie Mohammed, and just keeping in mind all of our graphics that we use and everything, just trying to be as inclusive as possible. So we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that was kind of front and center. We're going to be talking quite a bit about where to find all of these resources, and I need to go ahead and provide a link to everything here. So let me just grab that for you. If you're following along, you can actually click on anything in the deck and be able to find some stuff if you want to use this as a resource. So in the chat here is the slide deck. If you want to jump on, that's totally up to you. So you can either click on the computer, it's going to take you to the website. We are building out our website for digital curriculum to find a whole bunch of other resources and lessons, but it also can be found on your BSD elementary homepage as well. We do, in fact, have a best practice for digital learning and a position paper. Those are both linked on there as well. Just tying back to the core identity of a 21st century learner and how all of these technology skills link into all of their core subjects and basic understandings and being able to, function with digital literacy. It's kind of our main point and goal here. So again, we do have a best practice document, and yeah, those are linked on the slide deck for you. And you can find them in a couple of other places. We'll be pointing them out for sure. As to why we're doing this. So the scope and sequence lessons are standards aligned modules and tasks that we're trying to provide in an exemplary model. It is a starting point, so feel free to manipulate and modify to fit the needs of your classroom. We do want this to be a collaborative process. This is a work in progress. So as you teach lessons and you find something that doesn't work or that you have a better idea for, we would love to hear it. So this is really about creating choice and having Beaverton students become creators and users of digital tools. We're really trying to get over the hump of using the technology as, just a game-based center, definitely more in line with how to be using their devices in a culturally responsive digital learning way, and that sort of thing. Now, the additional piece that we often will be asked, I think, with this is, is this required? Technically, no, it hasn't been a standard adopted piece from the whole district in any way, shape, or form. However, there is some components and parts of it that have been, mainly the digital citizenship piece. So as we look to some of the laws that have been passed, SIPA is the one that we're specifically commenting on here. It helps us lower the cost of internet access for both the school and our students. But in order to do that, we have to be able to provide digital citizenship lessons so the kids are good digital users. So this is actually mandatory. The digital citizenship part specifically is mandatory, but we are trying to create something that is easy to implement within your classroom. So we're definitely merging with units where it seems appropriate. I think in the end, We want people to walk away and go, oh, okay, so this is a fun, engaging, short lesson that I can do, and it helps build skills for my students in all areas. Hopefully it's engaging, it's fun. And, at the end, we want our students to leave elementary, go into middle school, and have basic foundations to help them be successful. But I think also too, for your knowledge and understanding, this could help students create better end products to show what they know, or to be able to show what they know easier when they have different access to different tools. So how will we find this? Where will we find this? We'll dive into that right now. So basically, in terms of the rollout, right now we're starting with this very basic overview. What does it look like? Where can I find the lessons? Just communicating out to teachers, to principals, to building coaches, that sort of thing. Come September, we're hoping that you'll start using some of the resources available in your classroom. Definitely provide additional PD throughout the year as more lessons come online. We'll communicate through teaching and learning to the TNL Tuesday. Oh, hey, don't forget, October is Digital Citizenship Month, and we have some digital citizenship lessons ready to go for you, those kinds of things. So we'll just continue to kind of have it in your face and remind you that it's there and available should you be ready to use it. And then where does this all come from? So as I kind of referenced earlier, we've been working on this for quite a few years. It all starts with the ISTE standards. So ISTE is a huge corporation for teachers. It's the International Society for Technology Educators. And they've been working really hard to develop different standards for students, teachers, coaches, principals, etc., on being good digital citizens and creators, collaborators, that sort of thing. So they have these like larger umbrellas or buckets that they talk about within their standards. And those are kind of where the arrow is pointing on the screen here. So, knowledge constructor, global collaborator, creative communicator, empowered learner. Empowered learner is mostly geared towards really understanding their devices and knowing how to use them, how to turn them on and off, that sort of thing, especially for kinder. Digital citizenship. One that we would love to see used more often, utilized more often, is the innovative designer. That just especially speaks to the play incorporation in kinder. So that's one that I think we could work on a little bit more. And computational thinker, if I didn't say that one already. Anyways, we went through, there's a big document. It is broken down from empowered learner, and really we went into the nitty-gritty of it and tried to specialize it to Beaverton, specifically thinking, okay, we use iPads, we use Chromebooks, we use Seesaw, we use Canvas, and making sure that the standards that are in this document are specific to Beaverton. We then aligned it K through 12. And as we started going through some of the specific units for each grade level, we were also trying really hard to make sure that we weren't overloading any one grade. Third grade, you've got Chromebooks now you have to learn all of the things or whatever. We were trying really hard not to do that, and also paying attention within your pacing guide too, to not overload the front end of the school year with skills that build upon each other too much, right? So all of that kind of comes into play, and I'll show you the document a little bit later. You definitely can look at this big spreadsheet document, but it is big and kind of unwieldy, I think, sometimes. So I think we've tried to break it down and make it a little bit more manageable. I love that big spreadsheet document. I love seeing the skills broken out, especially as a person that's writing a lot of the lessons, doing a lot of lessons. It really helps guide the work for me. But I can definitely understand where it would be too much for some teachers. So this just shows you some of the units that we have. Again, all of our lessons, especially at the kinder level, are very, very short. We're talking 10, 15 minutes max, really. And so they'd be a great little breakup, if you're looking for what can I do now as we transition from, reading and math or something like that. These would be great to kind of pepper in. The empowered learner for kindy really starts the year with launching your iPad. some of these units, you probably are already doing some of those things, but we're also kind of hoping that the lessons maybe highlight or showcase things that you maybe didn't know or didn't think about, introducing to the students, always thinking about what is age appropriate. And also launching of Seesaw will happen towards the beginning of the year. So those lessons are done for you. And so that's the other piece too. We're hoping the engagement will be high for the kids, but then also they're nicely created lessons, just ready to roll for you. I always like to have lessons that are maybe made already, and then I can go back through and modify them, just adjust them to my needs. And that's kind of the driving force behind what we've done here for you. So in your pacing guide on the elementary website, you should be able to see these two slides come up, that just highlight everything I've talked about so far: our best practice, our position paper, access to that scope and sequence big spreadsheet. You can see that labeled here. You can access our website if you need to dive deeper. Everything's pretty, we try to keep it cyclical. Like if you get one place, how do I get back? So that you can always try and find your way. Two, also, we never know how people are going to access different things. So it might seem redundant, and it's just because we're trying to make it available in lots of different ways. We have also provided a potential timeline. So it shows up on your pacing guide, but we've also kind of really tried to be strategic about where things are placed, again, not to overload in any one capacity. And then also like, hey, yeah, this unit really fits well with, the fact that you might have kids online researching something. Or you might have kids drawing plants and animals in your science unit. So maybe we should work on some of those tools that they have access to with the iPad, those kinds of things. So we're trying to be really cognizant of where things land. We've tried to make sure also that the units are ready to go in a timely manner. So right now, the things that are up there are linked for the first couple of months of school, and then we'll communicate out when the next ones are online and ready for you to start to peruse. When we first started working on this, we were thinking, wouldn't that be lovely if we had some lessons that could be done through the LMA, some lessons that could be done through the TIA, and then some that were based in the classroom. Unfortunately, it's just such a wide variety of skill-based level, comfortability level, for TIAs, for LMAs. As you probably know, our turnover rate for TIAs is quite large all the time. And it's never consistent from building to building. Some TIAs will see students every 7 days, some will see them every 14 days. And so that becomes really difficult. So it needs to be more of a building a site conversation on, who's handling what. Again, the best benefit here is that we do have these lessons ready to go. So if you do have a TIA that feels comfortable taking on some of the digital citizenship lessons, for example, feel free to have that conversation. We just need to know that some of these lessons are being taught, we are going over them. You can also see the pacing guide here to kind of show where things roll out. Again, these are short lessons. I can't reiterate that enough. Short little tidbits that build on each other and hopefully will help you out in the classroom as well. And again, we'll dive into what one Kindy aspect looks like for you. You have teacher slide decks for every single unit. So we wanted to just go over what you can see in these slide decks, just to make sure that you know where to find everything. So for instance, paying attention to the devices and what we're using currently. So, in Kinder, you have access to your iPad. So just making sure students are going to need this. Also pointing out where you can cyclically find things like the scope and sequence, as well as accessing website, pacing guides. Everything should be linked. As I said before, this is still a work in progress and we really want to hear from you. So we do have a feedback form on every single teacher slide deck. So as you're teaching something and you say to yourself, yeah, I don't think that's going to work, we want to hear that from you. We additionally have pointed out the specific skills that are coming through these particular lessons and where they're being taught. For Kindy, in this particular session, you'll notice that I highlighted certain sections because again, age appropriate. There were pieces on here that I was like, yes, I could see kindy needing to know that, but then I don't see them needing to use this part, right? So there were certain parts of the skills that I had to divvy up between kindy first and second as I was going through it. And so that's kind of what you're seeing there. You also notice that we have color coded. We want this modeled by the teacher, introduced, or it should be a developing skill. So just wanting to make sure that's off to the side in the gray working area of the teacher slide deck. So be paying attention to the gray working area, because sometimes I will provide, I know specifically, like I'll show you in a minute, in the kindy iPad basics, for example, I don't always know necessarily like how teachers feel about kids having clean hands before handling an iPad. I don't know if you want them, you know, washing their hands, or if you just want them to use some I'm having the brain, like I can't remember, Purell, right? Like so off to the working side, I have different varying graphics that you could change out or use depending on what you would like to do in the classroom for clean kindy hands on the iPads. So it's stuff like that just to be paying attention to. Again, links to Seesaw activities should you need them, specific standards and skills, also where it fits, any of the equity or identity work, SEL work, we'll try and locate and put on there as well. And then also be on the lookout additionally for whole pages where we're trying to put it in your face. Hey, don't forget, we have a Seesaw activity ready to go for you. So you don't have to necessarily make it. And it doesn't pertain to kindy, but Canvas modules as well for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade if they're using Canvas. And then, like I said, be paying attention to the teacher notes or the slide notes down below, because we'll provide some additional information down there that could help you as you're using the slide deck. So trying to come at it from a lot of different angles and make it helpful for you. Okay, so before we dive into questions, I wanted to go ahead and open a few documents. We don't really need that. Here is, for example, the spreadsheet, the big document that I was talking about. We're not hiding it. It's there. You can definitely go in and look at it. But as you can see, it's quite big. Down below, we did go ahead and break out the kindy specific skills, which is a little bit more manageable, but we also wanted people to be able to see all of it. But as you can see, it goes into all of the minutia: keyboarding, word processing, presentation skills, again, unique to Beaverton, Seesaw, Canvas, you know, your digital identity, so getting into digital citizenship. And the one I think is super exciting is like the innovative designer. That really comes into play with creative projects for kids, as well as some coding and being able to create things that communicate your ideas and show what you know, and all that kind of good stuff. So you can kind of see over here in the K through 12 area, you know, kindy isn't necessarily something that we're introducing a ton of skills. And most of the time in pink, that just means we want you guys modeling some of it. I love this kind of stuff, seeing the minutia, but I can definitely understand where it's like, ooh, that's way too much. So if you were to go to your staff bookmarks, you know, you should hopefully know by now how to get to your elementary website, but it is in the staff bookmarks. So once you get into your elementary page and click into kindergarten, your main home screen here does have a link to the digital, and that's where you can find access to the lessons. So this is just the digital curriculums website. We're building it out. It'll have a lot more resources. From the text scope and sequence, you can see there's buttons to get to kindergarten. There's also a toolbar at the top that'll get you to kindergarten. And this just shows your breakdown a little bit more in depth. So starting the year with iPad launch and Seesaw, and then October gets into digital citizenship. And then the other pieces come into play throughout the school year. You can see it down here, kind of where we're kind of placing it. And this page here tells you a little bit more. Like, we were thinking this fits really well with this particular science unit or health unit, etc. So I'm going to open up one of these and just show you the launching the iPad unit, is I think this will give you a good idea of like how short the lessons can be. So again, I was trying to think attention spans for kindy. And there's some that I would definitely say are, you know, at the carpet going over some things. And then there are some that I would think would be beneficial to have the kids have access to their iPad and doing things with you as you're modeling. So for example, lesson number 1, again, down here at the bottom, you've got teacher notes. These can definitely be printed out if you wanted to, and have around the room if you wanted. But it's basically just iPad rules. So over in this working document over here, again, not knowing how you might want to identify, making sure hands are clean. So I give you a couple of different options for icons if you wanted to switch that out. And it just goes through iPad rules. How am I being a good iPad user in my classroom? That's it. It's just several different lessons or several different rules. You could pick and choose which ones fit for you. You could make a copy of the document and change out the rules. When we get into iPad basics, this one is how to restart it. So that might be okay to like have kids try it themselves. How do you click the home button? And then again, the teacher notes. Why would they need to know how to click the home button? Like what is important for that? I think we're going to be working really closely with our TSSs and IT coming up to like streamline the iPads for everybody so it's consistent. So yeah, again, how do you adjust the volume? How do you swipe to see all of your apps? Where do you plug in your headphones? How do you zoom in and out of pictures? Where was I grabbing that from? As we go into the Seesaw basics, then we start talking a little bit more about like use of the camera and how to use the different tools within Seesaw. So we tried really hard to split up some of the pieces. So I think I was thinking there was more in kinder, but I think that those pieces I might have shipped over to first grade. Again, trying to think age appropriate. What can first graders do versus what would we want kinder to do? And the Seesaw basics, again, all really incorporated with identity work at the beginning of the school year. You've got really great picture book options that should tie in with some of the multilingual books that we have available to us. Really highlighting the different pieces. Why would you do this? Where would you use it? What buttons are you pushing? I think Carrie tried really hard to find some good books to lead off some of the lessons. So just again, trying to be really thoughtful on how you put it together for you guys. So that's just a kind of closer look. Again, we'll keep communicating out when new lessons are coming on board. The digital citizenship stuff is probably the most important and mandatory. And that is something you can definitely talk to your TIAs about to see who is doing what. But hopefully there's enough here that is kind of enticing for you to think about doing in your own classroom as well.